This is the new era. This is the new band, and we're unbreakable.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster. Actually, better, stronger,
faster. Is that a
faster.
line from Starship Troopers or something?
No, it's actually the $1 Million Man.
$6 Million Man. I know that, and
I don't even know what that is.
We Brits don't do excitement, so this is the best you're gonna get.
Chris is bringing the noise today, apparently.
Speaking of vanilla,
it's just I don't understand why.
I don't think anyone does. I don't think Travis Green understands.
Talking you through every goalie controversy, scoring slump, and draft lottery bust. This is the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com and CKNW.com. Here they are, fresh from folding towels, sharpening skates, and washing jock straps. Chris, Matt, Anna, and Adam.
Welcome to another episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast. This is Chris Golden at Lightforce, joined in studio by the whole gang. That's right, Matt Lee at MattLee_61, Adam O'Neill Carter at AdamFOC, and Anna Forsyth at AForsyth03. We are all packed in the hot box. That's pretty much what this feels like. This is like the VPL went and installed microwave ovens, put windows so people could watch you cook like the hamster in Maniac Mansion, which if none of you ever played that video game, you missed out.
We get it. It's hot. Let's get right to the trade deadline stuff.
Oh, is there a trade today?
We don't care about this VPL. No one cares about the VPL stuff. Let's get right to the trade deadline stuff. We have no time to waste. We have this studio booked for 1 hour, and even then, I'm not sure that's enough.
Well, so...
Matt's excited.
Yeah. Well, I just, back in here, I didn't even know there was a Canucks trade until you guys started beaking off and chat about it, because at like 11...
Where you been?
Well, like noon, I'm like, oh, there's no deals, and I go to work.
Yeah,
like,
no, it all kind
job.
of happened.
Yeah.
I don't care about my real job.
Do we all want to like go around the table very quickly before we
Chris
start?
just said we don't have real jobs here. We gotta.
Well,
You
no,
don't got real jobs.
everyone has real jobs.
Adam's teaching the youth of tomorrow. Anna's doing
my real job
stuff.
Kicked in, and I'm like at noon. I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to pay attention anymore.
Yeah.
See, I was doing the same thing. I was ready to get back to work. I mean, continue working, and all of a sudden I see from TSN Bob on Twitter something along the lines of hearing the Canucks are working on something with Gudbranson to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, excuse me? Baking powder?
Wayne's World reference? Got
yes.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Shock. Awe. We will talk about it, though.
Is there anything else to talk about?
Were you teaching about teaching the youth of tomorrow?
I was. Well, no,
teaching them why we don't need Erik Gudbranson in our lives?
Teaching, and then it was lunch at 12:15, and nothing had happened. Then I came back from lunch, and somebody tweeted something about Pittsburgh paying Gudbranson and Jack Johnson. And I was like, "Ooh, what's going on here?"
and then you thought we acquired Jack Johnson or something.
Yeah, no.
Can you imagine?
God for that.
I can see the Jim Benning quote. We firmly believe Jack Johnson will be the answer to our prayers. Canucks send Jack Johnson, or send Quinn Hughes for Jack Johnson.
Don't even.
Anna, where were you?
I believe I was at work.
Happened.
I sit right behind another big Canucks fan. So we were just talking, and he said he came back from meeting saying, "Has anything happened?" I said no. And just as I was about to step out to lunch, I said, wait. 30 seconds ago, it was announced that Erik Gudbranson had gone to Pittsburgh. And I don't think they even said that Tanner Pearson was coming back at that point. But I was just like, don't care.
Oh, no.
Don't care.
Yeah,
That's
no.
exactly what I thought.
Do not care what's happening.
Don't you like that we're talking about this like it was a monumental trade in team history? Like, where were you when this trade happened?
It is. It is a pivotal moment.
It's a weight off our shoulders.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what it's like when you're, like, climbing a mountain and you're the one with your friends and you have the heaviest backpack out of everybody because they're all too weak to carry it for you? That's what it felt like having Erik Gudbranson on this team. He's just weighing you down. All I want to do is get to the top of the mountain, Erik. But there you are, like a 30-pound boulder in my backpack.
It's like you're describing what the second part of the defensive pairing with Erik Gudbranson felt like each and every night they were on the ice.
And, I mean, the thing is, I know all we've done is fixed a mistake that we made earlier, but it feels good to do it.
Well, are we going to talk about anything else? Well, I think so, because there was more than just the one trade. There was actually more than one trade, not to overshadow the fact that that took place.
First, we'll get to Rewind first. We'll officially segue in.
Well, no, but I'm just sort of telling people what we're going to talk
He's
about.
just laying out.
Sorry, we had a bye week last week, so I'm
off the game, and then the episode before that we were throwing chairs virtually. It was just madness, man. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that the Vancouver Canucks were making moves. I don't know what else we can talk about. The fact that there is a future, the fact that Alex Edler is still on the team, You know what? Canucks are playing hockey. We're going to talk all about more on the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast and CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
Talk about rusty.
It's been a while. What can I say?
Rusty much?
Hey,
It's a hard job.
2 weeks ago, I was canceling the podcast. You heard the last episode. And here we are. The future is suddenly brighter. The clouds have parted. The sunshine is piercing
Is the
through.
future brighter, though? That's one thing.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Can I just say, after I went on that rampage of the boulder thing and the thing, it got warmer in here. I'm really warm now.
You should. Matt is not wearing his typical bike gear today. He's looking very handsome.
I actually don't think I've
Suave,
ever seen Matt
one
look,
might say.
look
Wearing
as
window
good as he does
pane
right now.
pants. That's a nice.
These are, this is not even my A game here. I have better clothes. I'll wear it next
Ooh.
time. It's
Very
hot
exciting.
as balls in here.
Is that any better than what we were going to
Yeah,
say?
don't
Yeah.
make me have to place that explicit check
Yeah.
mark in the box. Ruin the podcast.
So let's get back to the Erik Gudbranson deal.
Yeah.
Traded for Tanner Pearson. At one point, Tanner Pearson scored 24 goals in the season for the LA Kings. It just doesn't feel like it was last season or this season.
Right.
We've talked about the reaction to the deal. What do you think of the return for Dana?
I mean, he's barely made a dent in Pittsburgh to the extent that I was like, oh, he doesn't play for LA anymore? But he was once a promising player, and I think all is not lost on him at all. I think he looks like another decent option that we can play with. Who knows if he's top 6 material, but with the lineup Canucks have, it's worth playing around with it.
Yeah, I don't know where he was in the lineup in Pittsburgh.
It's healthy scratch every now and then.
Yeah.
Yep.
But even when he was playing, I don't know who he's playing with. If he's given a chance to play with elite players like he was in LA, maybe he can recapture some of those 20-goal seasons.
Yeah. Just the lowdown on Pearson, essentially, is that 24-goal season, I think, came playing with Jeff Carter
and then
during his prime years.
Too, yeah.
And I think he was getting a few chances on a Crosby or a Malkin line in Pittsburgh. Right. It wasn't working out. A player like Zach Aston-Reese, who the Penguins signed over the offseason as a free agent, an undrafted free agent, he had sort of leapfrogged him over the depth chart by then, and so Pearson was kind of the odd man out as a result on his third team in 1 year. But, I mean, do you think that Pearson is still a salvageable piece, or is it possible that this barely moves the needle?
Well, he's 26, and maybe his best years are behind him, but he still has the potential. Theoretically, he's entering his prime years now, so there is a chance he could recapture some of what he did in the past in LA. And if he does, that's a huge win. But really, getting anything for Gudbranson is a huge win, and saving some money while you're doing it is, it's not a lot of money, but it's all a plus so far. So,
if I had one complaint, is they only saved $250,000 that could, get Pittsburgh to eat a little bit of Pearson.
Yeah. But we had fully sort of I think I had sort of accepted that we were never going to get out from this Gudbranson contract.
No, well, we spitballed around the idea that hockey people seemed to think there was lots of value. Don Cherry had him going to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we're like, oh, first-round pick, thank you very much.
I was kind of hoping if there was a way we could get out of the Gudbranson deal, it was through expansion in Seattle, taking him a la Spiza.
Or, and this is a better option than that, for sure, I would think.
Yeah.
I think best case would have been a mid-round pick, but I don't think anybody wants to take on that side.
Pennies on the dollar, too, though. I mean, at that point, I'd rather have something that might help them now with Pearson than a 4th or 5th round pick, which is probably what I would have guessed would have been the return for Gudbranson, helping us maybe in 5 years or something.
Yeah, and I think realistically, a team is only gonna give up something they know they don't want for a player like Gudbranson when he's a big risk.
I thought it was interesting that Rutherford, the Pittsburgh GM, had sort of suggested he didn't even know Gudbranson was available until this week. Was it that?
That seems crazy
under
to
the
me.
wraps? I feel like if Jim was smart, he would have been doing this the whole time.
I mean, we've been talking...
putting Gudbranson's name out there.
Sorry, I thought you meant, holding the Gudbranson card to you, close to your chest. No, we're leaning on you.
No, it wasn't part of, some big deal or anything. I'm surprised, if it is true, that Jim Benning wasn't peddling Gudbranson a lot earlier than just this week.
Yeah, and maybe it has to do with the injuries, and they're just shorthanded. They didn't have a lot of bodies, but maybe seeing that Sonner can hold his own, or...
Shen?
Yeah, who knows?
The Luke Shen era is beginning tonight.
Yeah, so, who knows what it is, but it's whatever.
It's just no. I'm just saying that like, whatever happens, the D lineup looks marginally better tonight.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't necessarily think it looks better. It's just it looks a lot less worse.
I saw a tweet, and I think it was from @AndyCole84. Not sure if you guys follow him. Good follow every now and then. A tweet he had from the Islanders game over the weekend. Gudbranson takes 5 seconds behind the net to make a decision with the puck, puts it off the glass and right onto the stick of an Islanders player at the blue line.
Yeah.
And it ended up being Gudbranson's last play as a Vancouver Canuck.
Did you see him in the same game on his knees shimmying beside the net for about 5 seconds? And the puck's in the corner. It's unbelievable. Like, he just could not play defense. He couldn't close gaps. He was atrocious. And you hate to say it. I mean, even he said it.
Well, yeah. He was like, I wasn't a good player here. I hope I can turn it around in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I did actually have this conversation on Saturday night with Rob Williams after the game, just saying, does he know that he's bad? Like, he must know at some point, and Rob suggested that maybe he didn't know, but he does know now. And that must be a really tough place mentally for a player. So, yeah, it is hard to hear that, even though you know it's true and you've been saying it for ages, when a player actually comes out and says that themselves.
Yeah. Since we're having the Gudbranson post-mort, if you will, I think this is proof as well, with Gudbranson copping to the fact that he wasn't good, or at least not living up to his standards. This is proof that players do read what is written about them in the papers, and that they do read what is said about them on social media. And we've seen players leading up to the trade deadline saying, yeah, we do pay attention to the trade deadline and what's being put out there too. Gudbranson knows he was bad. He says he was bad. He's hoping he can be better. It's unfortunately the story and the reality of Erik Gudbranson, and I feel bad for him because he's a human, but he was just not fitting in Vancouver, and there was realistically no way it was ever going to work in Vancouver, especially with the weight of the media and the fan scrutiny on him. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair assessment.
Any more closing words on Gudbranson? We'll circle back to Pearson in a second, but any more thoughts on Gudbranson?
Good luck, Erik.
Yep.
Pretty face, not much else. Anna?
Yeah, a very pretty face.
Oh gosh.
Not much.
I don't know why I even opened the door for it. Tanner Pearson. So we talked about it a little bit earlier with Tanner Pearson, but very quickly, we've seen with Jim Benning, Lyndon Vey, Marcus Granlund, Josh Levo, Nikolai Goldobin, all these like low risk project players that probably move the needle a little bit, but ultimately don't pan out, like scratch tickets, if you will. Where does Tanner Pearson, in your mind, sort of fit in comparison to previous projects that we've taken a gamble on, like Sven Baertschi, Lyndon Vey? Any of those? Does he float anywhere? Is there a comparable in terms of situation, talent, and age that you sort of put Pearson on?
And I hate to say it, but is he like a Michael Chaput?
He could be,
right? Like that's sort of where I view it. Is that
that's another good example? By the way,
we know sort of what we're getting if we expect low rate of return, and anything beyond that is something good. But we look at his fit within the team as it exists today. He's another contract in a spot that's taking up a space of Jags that we have a wide assortment of, and I don't know if that's what the Canucks need more of. I mean, we've talked about this. How many Jags does this team need to have on the third and fourth line? But if it's Pearson of old, and it turns out to be a great opportunity, is this, not the same, but akin to a Naslin for, whatever, Stoyanov.
Yeah.
You could argue that Levo and Pearson, are two of, if not the two best wingers that Horvat has ever played with in his tenure.
Outside of Besser, when Horvat.
Right, exactly, sure. And, take away the power play. But, there just hasn't been a lot of depth.
Consistency,
right?
Yeah.
So at least these guys have some upside. I don't really know if Pearson will be able to hit it, but there is that upside there that there never was with guys like Chaput or...
And I wasn't saying that Chaput is the max. It's just I see him as a Michael Chaput right now.
Right. No, that's totally fair. Totally fair. But he's got the upside to be, 15 to 20 goal scorer.
Yeah, and a player like Josh Lebo, you sort of see him playing a little bit beyond himself just by finding some chemistry, and it's very early days still, but if like Pearson wasn't making it work in Pittsburgh, and maybe it'll click here, we don't know for sure, but yeah, as you say, there is that potential.
And I was going to suggest, if Pearson gets to Lebo levels, we're all ecstatic.
Right.
Agreed? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we're happy now, and to get actual production out of it would be, a highway robbery.
True or false, before we move on to the other trade of the day, is Tanner Pearson more tradable than Erik Gudbranson would have been if he had stayed in Vancouver?
Oh,
True
absolutely.
or false?
Absolutely. You can
I think that's the other caveat here that we have to consider.
come next year if Pearson's not working out. You can still trade him
for something.
and somebody's going to take a 12-goal scorer much more willingly for about $4 million than they would somebody who's minus 27
And
defense, right?
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say that this is kind of the perfect point in the season to add a player like Gudbranson, where you can kind of convince people that he'll add that toughness that will get you through playoffs. I think the more and more people see of him and realize that that's not the player he is, he just loses trade value, but this is almost like the end of the road for him trade value-wise, so I think Jim did a good job to ship him out.
And I think you're right, Anna, and I was going to say something along the same thing, is that this was the time where Jim could sort of sell something and get something in return, whereas it would have been a lot harder, I think, in the offseason to move Gudbranson. The metrics were so bad on Erik Gudbranson, like it had been almost statistically proven that Gudbranson might have been the worst defenseman in hockey. And so just looking at that, it would have been very hard for the Canucks to find a taker for him. And so to get out from that contract, albeit taking back almost the exact same contract in Tanner Pearson, I still think that we could move Tanner Pearson for a 4th or 5th round pick if it doesn't work out here, like Adam said.
Yep.
Other trade of the day, this one much more out of the blue. Jonathan Dahlen getting sent to the San Jose Sharks for, is it Linus or is it Linus?
Probably Linus.
I would say Linus too. Linus Omar. You remember him?
I do. That's what I was thinking of.
Linus Karlsson. Hands up. Admittedly. Does anyone know who Linus Karlsson is?
I haven't a clue.
I had no clue before today.
Not a lot. I'd heard of him.
Great name, though.
Yeah. That's a good name.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about Jonathan Dahlen first. Did anyone of us even remotely suspect that there may have been some sort of unhappiness from Jonathan Dahlen in Utica?
Yeah, that's been talk for a couple weeks now about that, but it has been,
but was
less
it?
than a month.
But had it festered in your mind to the point that Dahlen wanted to trade out of Utica / Vancouver?
I was surprised to hear that the agent had directly asked for a trade.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, there's been smoke that Dahlen was on the market. People are like, I don't quite get. Like, why would the Canucks, decide that it's not going to work out or it's time to move him? Like, what was it that the Canucks saw in him or didn't see in him? Be it his skating, his two-way play, whatever it was. Like, what is it that's missing? Now that we hear that he wanted out, and I don't know if the reasons as to why he wanted out have been disclosed. That sort of drives, Jim Benning to get something in return. It is unfortunate because I think there was some natural chemistry between Dahlen and Pettersson, but ultimately, if the player doesn't want to be here, as we've seen case in point Ryan Kessler, you better to get them gone when there's value to be had before you're pigeonholed into getting Lucas Biza in return.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think, what I was saying earlier, the Canucks might have got better today with the Pearson deal, but I do think this is, at the very best, a lateral move for the Canucks. I do think Dahlen just has more upside than Karlsson from, admittedly, the stuff I've read in the past few hours. So it is a bummer in that sense. You do have to wonder when guys like Palmiu and now Dahlen won out of Utica, what's going on down there.
Okay, so let's talk about that now then. Does this speak to a perhaps larger problem in Utica with developing prospects? Like Adam mentioned, Petrus Palmiu, loaned back to Finland. He's done for the year in Utica. And now we're seeing this situation with Dahlen. We have seen Cole Lind and I believe Jona Gadjevich both got healthy scratched maybe 1 or 2 times in Utica as well.
Lind quite a few times.
Yeah, and so there is some truth to the fact that young players in Utica are not getting the playing time that I think fans in Vancouver would like to see them get. So, Chris, as a guy who loves to wear the tinfoil hat, so to speak, do you think that maybe there is a problem in Utica with how we are developing our prospects?
So my view...
By the way, tinfoil hat, is that right?
That is tinfoil
okay.
hat, yeah, conspiracy theorist. My view from Vancouver is that there's something going on. But I think it was, I don't know, it was Bearded Canuck or Joe Canuck in Discord had actually asked that valid question. How much of the Utica Comets have we been watching to fairly go and suggest that there is an issue or a bigger problem or something that could be at play? Again, cheap seats are showing me that Trent Call seems to be, for lack
stingier.
But lack of a better word, he's Desjardins the Utica Comets.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Like it doesn't occur to me to be the developmental team. It's the I want to get as many wins as I can.
Yeah.
With maybe the argument that winning is a good way to develop players.
And sorry, just to clarify, what you're saying is they're playing, career AHLers.
Carter Banks.
Yes, or Reed Boucher, those kind of guys.
Brendan
Top
Gaunce.
5 minutes, and maybe they are good at the AHL level, but they don't have an NHL future when you or we would want the AHL team to be a developmental league where you're giving these guys opportunities to make mistakes where it doesn't have incredible implications. And give them those top-line minutes against tougher competition.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, at the very best, there's a disconnect between what the fans in Vancouver expect and what Trent Cull has been mandated to do in Utica. Like, you can't blame him for wanting to win, but that's not what we're looking for as fans. We're looking for players of the future because, Brendan Gaunce probably is better than, players like Lind and other young players right now. Brendan Gaunce is better than the bottom of our team, of the Canucks right now, but Brendan Gaunce isn't going to be anything in the future. He is all he can be.
And one thing we should not discount is the fact that the AHL franchise isn't necessarily owned, and in this case it's not, by the Vancouver Canucks. That ownership group wants a gate revenue. They may want to win, and they get some say. The Vancouver Canucks simply sign a contract and have an agreement that says, here's what we can do. To the point that you raised, we don't know what that mandate is. We don't know if Trent Cole has been given a mandate to develop players at all.
But does Trent Cole not get hired by the Canucks?
Well, I think the Canucks ultimately place a lot of the coaching staff in there, but I can't imagine the Vancouver Canucks, unless it's in their contract, get 100% of the say. Because
I only ask that because, obviously Travis Green getting promoted from Utica, does that not sort of link some sort of relationship between the Canucks and the hiring process for coaches in general?
It's about the contract. But at the end of the day, the ownership group for the Utica Comets, what is it that they're in the game for? They're in the game to make money. It's a business. And if a developmental team loses all the time and the fans stop coming out to the auditorium and, giving you that gate revenue and whatnot, I would think that ownership group would not want to have their hands completely tied behind their back without ability to do something. So I truly don't know.
And that's the issue with it being in Utica, which is a great hockey market, but it means that the fans want to see a winning hockey team. If it was in BC somewhere, if it was still Abbotsford, that there was a team in Abbotsford, Canucks fans would go and see the young prospects, or at least they're more likely to. Whereas
we don't need to open up that bag of worms. I already see it percolating in your brain. I know what you're thinking.
I'm just saying the Utica fans, they love to see their team win. You could see when they were in the playoffs, when they made the finals, that town was going crazy.
The fan base is rabid for success.
And what benefit would it serve them to watch young players?
Bringing this back on the rails, if you will, if I can. Trent Cull. We've talked a lot about him and his coaching and whatnot. I do think that it is important to at least note that there have been some developmental successes from Cull this year. We've seen it from Adam Gaudette. We've seen it with Zach McEwen. We've seen a couple of those players, Ashton Sautner, pan out as well. So for every Gadjevich, Lind, and Dahlen, there was the Gaudettes and the McEwens, the other good feel-good stories. So there is that to consider. But I do think that, we didn't have this problem with Travis Green when he was in Utica, did we?
No, that's kind of what he was known for, was his development.
And so that's why I feel like there is something more to this than maybe Jim Benning's letting on. Jim Benning, for the record, saying at today's press conference that he has no problem with how players are being developed in Utica, essentially, anyway.
Yeah, but I don't think he would say otherwise. If
Well, of course not.
Of
course not,
says,
but
I think there's a tire fire going
Of
down
course
in
not, but
upstate New York.
I do think that there's no denying in this room maybe that there is some sort of issue in Utica with developing players.
Definitely.
Does this open the door in your mind to maybe reevaluating Trent Cole in the future if you were a Canuck fan?
Well, maybe, but to the honest point, I mean, we don't know the man. Like, ultimately, GM JB is not going to say that things are horrible, and he doesn't seem to even be the type of GM that like would Brian Burkett, right? Like, it's not something he's just going to go and throw a dart at the board just to attract attention. But I think it is safe to say, as you said, what's going on in Utica right now has us out on the West Coast wondering what's up, and there's really no ability for us to know better because we can't even go and look ourselves.
I also think if Benning, for all we say about Benning, he's done pretty well in terms of drafting players.
Yeah.
If he sees a guy, a high pick like Coland, who he had high hopes for, struggling, then he's going to be like, what the heck's going on here? And you would think reevaluate things. So
Bearded Canucks 03 clarifying in patron chat that the Canucks do in fact own the Utica Comets.
They own.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, okay, that's
again, that's not verified by me or anything. I'm just pointing out what I've heard.
I trust them. I swear it was only recently that the Canucks re-upped their.
It makes
AHL
sense, though, does it
agreement.
not? I mean, if you're the pro franchise, you want full autonomy over your AHL franchise, who is supposed to develop
you
your
would definitely
prospects.
You'd want as much autonomy as you can up to ownership. Yeah.
If that is to be believed, then yes, I believe that there should be some sort of reevaluation of how we look at Trent Cole in the offseason. Any thoughts more on Utica, Jonathan Dahlen, before we move on to Carlson?
I would just say that, is it concerning, like, that there seems to be a sort of attitude problem in the way that there's a young AHL player saying that he's not getting the right chances?
Palmu had the same problem too, by the way.
Like, is that an attitude problem, or the fact that they're not being
like
told
a kid,
the expectations?
like a kid problem or a philosophy problem, so to speak?
Just are they being told, you will get chances and then not getting them? Like, what have they been told going in?
That could be the problem with Trent Cole, is maybe he's telling the players they will get their chances and he's not living up to what he's been telling them. That is entirely a possibility.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is or not, but something is happening with Cole in Utica that wasn't happening with Green in Utica. I think that's fair to say.
That's it. Here's something to look at.
Linus Karlsson. So we talked about how none of us really know much about him. First thing I did, reached out to friend of the show, Cam Robinson. I said, Cam, do we got anything in Linus Karlsson? This is what he said to me. Hang on, let me find it. It's not the worst deal we've seen, first of all, he says.
That's a low bar for success.
He's a project.
Wow.
He's a project, but I just got off the phone with my Swedish guy. Yeah, he's got Swedish guys. It's 1 a.m. in Sweden, and he gave me a full rundown on his season as I stopped watching Karlsson after he was drafted. There is some upside. Goes on to say, Karlsson's game is a little more pro-styled than Dahlen's, maybe. The foot speed was always Dahlen's concern. He isn't big or fast. That's usually a difficult hurdle to overcome. Karlsson isn't fast either, but he is bigger and smarter defensively. Dahlen wanted a shot and apparently didn't earn it, so he wanted out. I can't blame Jimbo for that. Like he said, though, a somewhat lateral move. They won't need to worry about expansion protection for Karlsson either. It's meh right now, but it could still be okay.
Right.
Well, there you go. Meh.
Exclusive feedback from
State
friend of the show.
Canucks, post-trade deadline, MEH.
Yeah, pretty much. I would like to say the sheer joy of watching Erik Gudbranson being ushered out of Vancouver was somewhat mitigated with the out-of-nowhere trade of Jonathan Dahlen.
Well, it wasn't completely out of nowhere.
I know it wasn't completely out of nowhere, but it was like, yeah!
Also, we're at the point where Benning's 2 moves today were jettisoning his biggest, trademark acquisition.
Yeah.
One, or maybe you could argue Sutter, but one of the two, and getting rid of someone he said was probably his biggest. The collective said was one of his biggest wins as a trade. So, just another day.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point.
He didn't win. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I was gonna say it's gotten to the point though where we're celebrating. You know what? You done bad. you'll get a mea culpa. We'll give you a few. Take the eraser, rub that one out, and then we'll move on and be better for it.
Okay, so
sorry, I don't.
No, go ahead.
But are we going to talk about just the state of the Canucks?
We
'Cause
will.
I got some words to say.
We'll get there.
Okay,
Calm down, buddy.
It's hot in here. I'm
On that
sweaty.
note, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about the Canucks' moves that they did not make, including not trading Alex Edler. Michael Del Zotto shipped off again. For who and for what? How? And we'll also talk, as Adam said, about the state of the franchise as we move forward here. CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on that.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And, yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
So, I don't think anybody expected it, but the Canucks came and went at the deadline without moving both Alex Edler and Chris Tanev. But the little morsel of newsworthy nugget that we got from Jim Benning is that two teams did inquire about Alex Edler. The Canucks did approach Alex Edler about waiving his no-trade clause. Alex Edler said no. Not surprised.
Yeah.
But having seen what defensemen were going for at the trade deadline, is there not a morsel of you thinking, man, what could have been?
Yeah, it's frustrating, but Alex Edler is within his rights to say no.
Who gave him that no trade again? Was it Gillis? Or was it Benning?
I think Benning.
Really?
I think it was Gillis.
I was going to be Gillis.
Oh, someone figure it out. Who's going to
these
Google
no
it faster
trades.
while Adam fills time?
Cap friendly, and then Bearded Canuck will come in already because he's got it up. And tell us.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a bummer. Like you said, Matt, defensemen were going for steep prices. And if you're,
who's this? Like, Fantenberg went from the LA
fourth.
Kings to Calgary for a fourth?
But I mean, if you're
A
Edler,
fourth?
I guess
For who?
You don't want to take 3 months away from your team or from your family, which is fine. I get that.
Whoopee!
But it would have been nice to be like, hey, I can go somewhere, maybe compete
Look,
for a cup.
it is totally easy for us to be in these chairs and not be in Alex Edler's skin and say, yeah,
I'm
you
just
should have
talking about
bucked
the
up.
fans' perspective.
I
That's
know,
what
I
would have
know.
been nice.
But, I get that it's, hockey players have lives here, et cetera, et cetera. But Edler talks about, wanting to play in Vancouver for a long time and wanting to be part of this rebuild process and building the kids. Did anyone tell Alex, if he goes off somewhere for a few months, we could get a bunch of picks and prospects that could expedite the rebuild? Did anybody tell him that?
Did anybody tell Benning that?
Just a couple months, Alex. Think
Yeah,
about it.
my understanding is that he wanted to be guaranteed contract renewal in his new club.
Bull!
Yeah.
Anna's got sources.
That's what he said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, looking it up, Alex Edler's contract, the current one that he started, excuse me, was
I bet you
at
$5 it was Gillis.
Probably was.
So it started the 2013-2014 season.
That's the year Gillis got fired.
Yeah, so Gillis got fired at the end of 2014 season.
The old Edler contract did old Gilly in, huh?
Now, you look at Gilly, though. I mean, he was handing out NCs and NTCs as a mechanism to keep dollars down. You can't fault the guy for ultimately going all in to win. The problem is the legacy is now we've got an Alex Edler who
and we
doesn't
have
wanna
the
go
cap
anywhere.
space, and we don't have.
Well,
we have all these players with
the scariest thing
NMCs.
for me is if the Canucks re-sign him, Alex Edler's going to want at least an NTC.
Okay, so that's where we stop right there with Alex Edler. I am fully on board with if we're not going to trade him, let's just bring him back for 2 or 3 more years. But if that Swedish guy thinks he's getting a no-trade clause or a no-movement clause, he's got another thing. No, you listen to me, okay? Because the Seattle expansion draft is going to come up, and we're going to have to protect a bunch of guys, and I personally don't want Alex Edler to be one of them. We already have to protect Lou Eriksson. Are we going to get out of the Louis Eriksson contract next?
You're not giving him an NMC, but would you rather give him a no trade and 3 years? Sorry, and 2 years, or nothing and 3?
Okay, say that again. And no trade clause and 2 years?
No trade clause. So you
and a 2-year contract.
Down, or higher term, 3 or 4 years with no.
How old is he now? Someone look at
33.
While you guys were looking up the Edler stuff, you couldn't have looked up the age?
Well, you didn't ask me to look up the age.
What do we pay you for?
Absolutely nothing.
I did look up the
To answer
age
your question
and now
without
I
even looking
forgot
at the age, I'll just ballpark that he's around 33. I'd rather give him the term.
Yeah, born in 86. April of 86.
I'd rather have him for 2 years and
So,
just
32.
That's it. He's 36?
32.
No,
30,
he'll be. Yeah, he's born in April of 86.
86.
Yeah, we're gonna give him a contract into his 40s. He's gonna capture the hell out of the Canucks. Same time Louis.
Just about Chris Prongered us. No, I'd rather give him 3 years and then no trade clause.
You'd rather give him longer term.
What if it's 4 years? And
I don't know
you know
who
what?
we have to protect when Seattle does the expansion draft. It's just like I look at Pettersson, Besser. I think Hughes might fall under that territory if he plays this year. Like we might have to protect him. Like we only have so many spots we can use.
That's only if so many people worth protecting.
We're going to need to protect Jack Hughes.
If the rules are the same, they only have to respect NMCs. NTCs didn't have to be automatically protected. So the worst is the NMC. If he gets an NMC, it's like it's end of days because we're in the same situation. They can give him a 5-year contract. It would suck. However, if it doesn't have an NTC or an NMC on it, really, that doesn't matter because he either gets sent somewhere or goes to Robidaw Island, and I don't think Edler wants that.
God, Edler's a pain in my ass.
But yeah, I guess what does the future look like, ideally from his perspective?
Retires a Canuck in a couple years.
So he will just like to re-sign a contract, and then that's the end of his career.
Plus, we will have used robotic metals to replace the body parts in him that have been injured and broken.
Right.
Like the Terminator.
I just think, yeah.
I watched Terminator 1 for the or Terminator 2 Judgment Day for the first time the other day.
You had not seen
I had not seen Terminator 2, and I have also not seen Terminator 1, so I know that didn't make sense.
Yeah, I have not seen any of them.
Oh my
goodness.
No interest. C4 at the movies.
Get add it to the list.
Oh yeah, I know. I've been.
She
really
has to
bad
also
on
watch
that.
Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines.
Nah, you're okay if you skip that one.
And
I just
Terminator
watch the
4:
Major League
Salvation.
Series.
Is that the other one?
Yeah, then Genesis.
None of these are
And
sports movies. Screw it.
Terminator
No.
5: Genesis with Arnold.
Oh god, that was horrible.
I refuse to believe that even happened. What was worse, by the way, Terminator 5 or Rocky 5?
Okay, at least...
Sorry, off the rails for 30 seconds.
Sly Stallone acknowledged Rocky 5 blew chunks, which is why he revived the series, because they needed
So
to
we
end
got
it
Rocky
right.
Balboa, number 6?
Well, in fairness, Rocky Balboa,
That was a good movie.
I actually thought was really well done because it respected the fact that he was an old man. Yeah, okay, fine. You didn't get the history, but the
I've watched all the Rocky movies.
Rocky 5 was just all sorts of wrong. A street fight of all things,
Yeah.
like come on.
You should do Rocky 4.
Yeah, apparently, I think I'm doing Moneyball next, and then all of the Rocky
Moneyball.
movies.
You still haven't done Moneyball? Haven't we
I know,
been talking about this
I
for
know,
like
I'm
months?
being terrible, yeah.
Well,
God, you're slower than Jim Benning.
So, enough of Edler?
Right, sorry, where were we?
let's move on.
We were talking about Edler, NMC.
Right.
4 million years.
Let's move on.
We'll move on from Edler.
MDZ.
Oh.
So, apparently, if you play Del Zotto, he's worth more.
So in that 12 games that Michael Del Zotto played for the Anaheim Ducks, suddenly his trade value went from 7th and Luke Shen to a 6th.
Well, I guess acquiring Luke Shen gave you the flexibility to get rid of Gudbranson.
Yeah.
But that's...
Why didn't we trade Luke Shen
I'm not sure about the
for a
outrage
6th?
on this one.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of... After the third round, it really doesn't. There's not like...
Yeah,
I know it doesn't matter, but it's
Sixth
the
or
quantity
seventh,
of
it doesn't
picks.
matter.
Well, it's still
Well,
only
it's
one
it's
pick.
one pick, yeah.
Well, here.
It's just we got Luke Shen as well.
But let's actually rewind here. What was the thing that we were struggling with at the time? You want to trade MDZ, but you have him in the press box. What kind of trade value does that give you?
I know, and the madness of it was they were playing him all the time last year when all he was doing was reducing his trade value. Like, it probably would have been better to play him nearer the end.
Yeah, I mean, I am of the belief that, the trade value didn't increase substantially, but it's just interesting that when you actually dress a player and play him in the games, he suddenly is worth more than if he is playing, Fortnite BR on his Switch up in the press box or whatever the heck, they do.
Well, he is very anti-Fortnite,
I
as we
know,
know.
which is why I dropped that reference.
Question, hands up. Do you think, and I'm just spitballing here, seeing that Del Zotto got moved for a 6th, do you think Jim Benning actively made any calls whatsoever to teams about Luke Schenn? Like said, hey,
shopping around?
I got a guy. He's not going to cost much. 7th rounder. Do you think he even bothered?
I don't think he...
Or was it like a two like bigger fish to fry kind of a thing for him and Gudbranson?
Yeah, probably.
I think maybe I think there might be a better chance a team were to kick the door as, hey, can we take that guy off your hands for a hockey stick and a couple couple pucks.
Like again, I have never been a fly on the wall, and I really wish we could one day be a fly on the wall in the war room. But it's like, is it not part of your due diligence as GM? And maybe like, John Weisbrod could have made the call. Like, couldn't someone have gone to? Where did Del Zotto get traded to? St. Louis.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't someone have gone to St. Louis and been like, hey, here's Luke Schenn. He could play with his brother Braden Schenn in St. Louis. Like, it's a feel-good story. Might sell a couple tickets. 7th round pick. It's not going to cost you anything. It's going to be cheaper than the 6th you're about to give for Michael Del Zotto.
Yeah, I guess the concerning thing for me is when Benning said, since we weren't willing to give up draft picks, it was hard to get them. And I was just like, well, no, it's not. There's plenty of players being flipped for draft picks. Do
you think Benning also went to teams and be like, any draft picks from us is a non-starter? Do you think he said that?
Yeah, because, wouldn't you rather flip a lower order draft pick to sweeten the deal and then...
See, and that's what I was going to get to, is I feel if Benning actually began every conversation with teams saying, like, trading draft picks is a non-starter, I feel like that also spooks off a lot of potential suitors in a trade.
And it makes me think he's seriously misunderstood the market when the market says, well, no, don't give up draft picks. That doesn't mean... like, don't trade any draft picks.
Yeah, like, so you're saying, sorry, so you're saying he could have, say, gone to St. Louis, offered Schenn and a 7th, and said, we'll take a 5th.
Yeah, something like that.
I think maybe I misread it, but I thought he said it's hard to make plays for big name players when you're not willing to give up draft picks, which makes sense, but it's,
But were we looking for the Canucks to go and get a big name player?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, like to me, it's the other way around.
That's what I mean. Either way, the argument is dumb because you should be trying to acquire draft picks, which wasn't like they were flying off the board today, like they always do every year.
Yeah.
Ottawa Senators a week ago to Ottawa Senators today. Granted, their roster is a whole lot of crazy, but now you look at the number of picks that they have in subsequent years. The Ottawa Senators can go and do that. I'd like to think that the Vancouver Canucks had at least enough to manufacture, a few more, or to quote-unquote trade up the board.
Right. And so leads me to the next one. Like, do you think they got any calls on Marcus Granlund, Jake Virtanen, any of those guys? Do you think
I'm sure they did.
But it wasn't to their price?
I guess not.
Who knows?
I'd be surprised
Adam
if there was
sounds so
zero
despondent,
calls.
by the way. We're going to get to it. Don't worry, you only have like a couple more minutes, you have to hold it in.
I was going to say, we only have a few more minutes until they come in here and kick us out, right?
Yeah, Anna.
We actually have time.
Okay.
We have time.
Just making sure. I don't want us to
I was just being melodramatic, as I usually do.
Matt was just trying to add to the raise the stakes.
Okay.
Where were we?
Granlund, Virtanen,
right.
Phone calls.
No one?
Well, you know what? I bet you there were phone calls about all sorts of players. Like, heck, someone probably called, so what is it going to take to get Pettersson out of your hands?
Yeah.
And, Jim Benning probably actually entertained the phone call.
Oh, God.
Right?
I'm feeling my heart.
Scary thought.
My Apple Watch just sent me a notification. Are you okay?
But the matter remains, you're right, as you pointed out, we don't have access to the war room. We don't know what people, genuinely would have been offered for a Virtanen or for a Granlund, and what Jim Benning places on value on these guys. Again, I think if I were to look at the day, well, Adam, you had said it was meh. I'd actually say it's, meh with a little plus sign, because...
Meh plus?
Well, there's $250,000 of cap room. Gudbranson got dealt. Sure, Pearson is
$250,000. What is that, like 0.2% of the cap?
Whatever. The point being is it's more room so that the Canucks can go and hoard up in the off season bad contracts for draft picks.
You know who the real winner is in this trade deadline? It's Quinn Hughes. He doesn't have to play with Erik Gudbranson now.
Yeah.
There is that.
Okay, so let's end this conversation. And we'll start with Adam, because look at him. He's chomping at the bit. Look at my dude.
Hot and
I was going to say, there was steam coming out right
Yeah.
now.
Did they win or lose the trade deadline?
I mean, that's to me is irrelevant because they've lost the last 5 years. Like, the whole argument, and I saw,
Everybody gets a 2-minute timeout while Adam goes on his tirade.
yeah, well, the Canucks hockey blog tweeted out something today.
That's us.
Yeah, that's us. Hey,
it's not quite us, but it's us.
But
I'm just glad Adam follows CHP on Twitter.
So the Rangers have acquired 12 picks, I think, or something like that.
I saw that.
12 months. The Canucks have acquired 11 in the past 5 years, and that doesn't count all the picks they've traded away. That's just everything they've acquired, and they've given away higher quality picks than they've taken in all year. And then the other argument was, well, the Canucks didn't have a lot of players to trade away. You tell me a guy's been here for 5 years, and he hasn't acquired, like a single tradable asset or like more than one tradable asset. It's crazy to me that there's any defense to this. Like, the only 3 things you have really that you've done are Pettersson, which you
regifted.
You finished second worst in the league and got him. Besser, which
was a good
pick. Yep. And Hughes is your other stud. And again, you got
fell into your laps.
Exactly. When you finish at the bottom of the standings, you have the worst record of the past 5 years. I'm just so frustrated. I'm so over this. And to call this trade deadline a win is just embarrassing because there's just no growth. Benning finally said that he's going to take a look at the blue line because there needs to be work done on it this offseason. But there's been no progress. It's been so stagnant, and I'm just over it.
Okay, so you mentioned, like, at some point they have to win a trade, right? Like, and they haven't.
You do have to win a trade outright.
But okay. Can you not say that some of the small moves that they've made were at least small wins? Like, Michael Carcone for Josh Levo.
Okay, that's a good. Okay, sure, good pick.
Like,
good trade.
Shinkarik for Granlund. Like,
but then
I'm not going to disagree with you for they haven't won trades in a landslide for big players.
Outweigh those like crazy, and I don't think those small little bits add up to anything close enough to outweigh any the positives. Like Pettersson, I was talking about this with a buddy of mine. Pettersson's going to buy Benning 3 years just by virtue of being here. And I hate that.
So for what does Jim Benning have to do to please Adam? The F stands for Francis Ovanel Carter.
Make moves that make sense for the future. Like, nothing today is like, okay, the Canucks are going to be better for the future. Like, there's just no foresight to anything. There's no progress being made. I want to see something. I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the first few years, but I can't anymore because I haven't seen anything that shows there's any sort of vision, any sort of the team is not a good team, and you can't look at this team and be like, okay, we're fine on offense, we're fine on defense. There's so much work that needs to be done, and there's no work being done.
So is your problem with Jim that he hasn't won a trade, like a big trade, or that he's not making the moves that are expediting the rebuild, so to speak?
Yeah, we've been stuck in the same
perpetualness
for 5 years, and we got Pettersson out of it, which is great, and Hughes, but those two guys are not going to be the ultimate difference maker.
I agree with some extent, but I feel like one of these guys have something to say on that, Nick.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Adam and I have been probably on the same page when it comes to GMJB. He's a great director of professional scouting in the role of a GM.
Yes.
Who, Adam or Jim?
The point, though, is I think my perspective when I say it's May plus, there's when I think for me, we're essentially at rock bottom. It could get a lot worse, but I'm now starting look, he finally figured out that he can go and do stuff. And I may be thinking, because I think you're right, Pettersson bought him 3 years. Yeah. Arguably, how would he get gassed? I don't see it. If the Aquilinis have agreed that, we're not going to be a playoff team for a couple more seasons, the only thing I think that would change that is just somehow the Canucks make the playoffs and go on a deep run.
Right.
But
what happens?
That's not going to happen.
What happens next year? Because other than Hughes, there's nothing really coming in, So you're going to have Pettersson, who's, got a little more under his belt. But those two guys him and Besser, aren't going to be exponentially better than they are right now. There's nothing else coming in to help support it, right?
The Canucks year is not next year. At the earliest, it's 2 years from now.
Right, but what do you have coming in other than Hughes that would really get you, would say, okay, yeah, this team's now a playoff team?
Oh, yeah, no, and that's the... I agree. There's nothing there. There's nothing to be excited about other than what we already know of, unless,
And Erik you say we're at rock bottom, but, you could say the Senators now have the worst roster in the league, but they have up to 4 first-round picks, a boatload of seconds, and great prospects coming in now, right? At least there's a direction, and maybe you could argue they could have got more here and there, but there's a direction, there's plans being made, and we haven't seen that once.
So Peter Dorian's a better GM than GM JB?
You know what? It's possible.
Oh, wow.
Wow!
At least he acknowledges where the team is. We've been 5 years of Benning being like, we're close,
But here's the thing. So I think it's unfair to compare Dorian at this year's trade deadline anyway to Jim at this year's trade deadline, because it's easy for us to say Dorian is better because Dzingel, Stone, and Duchesne, not one of those three had no trade clauses. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sure, but you're also not giving out, prohibitive deals.
Yeah,
exactly.
But Benning didn't give those no trade contract except for Eriksson.
There you go. Or Sutter.
Currently, the only restrictive deal is Edler that's not on JBM.
Right. You could trade Eriksson maybe, but no one's going to take his contract. No one wants Sutter's contract. There's just no tradable assets, and that in itself is such an indictment on Benning. You have 5 years to make changes. That's not a short amount of time.
Okay, so
half a freaking decade.
So is this fair to say for you, to appease you as a Jim Benning hater right now? Is this offseason very important?
Yes. I don't know what you can do.
At the end of the day, does Jim Benning have to, number one, not lose any trades? That's probably one of the prerequisites.
Yeah.
Number two, no more no trade clauses / no movement clauses.
I mean, I'm not opposed to them.
Unless your name is like Pettersson or Besser or something.
Right, yeah, and that's a different story. But, I don't want to be giving Jake Gardiner or Tyler Myers 6 or 7 years at whatever with a no movement clause.
Yeah.
Don't do any stupid Benning signings either.
So your demand, if you will, for Jim Benning, don't do anything stupid.
But that shouldn't be don't.
I know it should.
And make significant progress towards a freaking goal. Don't do anything stupid. I'm tired of. He didn't do anything stupid today. This
really should have been the F word, by the way.
Yeah, it should have. Whatever. He didn't do anything stupid today. But you could argue that Dahlen did whatever. But that's not enough. That's not enough to be an
Especially
NHL general
after
manager
5 years.
for 5 years, and that's
It's true.
Okay, I will agree.
In terms of longevity and how long of a leash Benning has had,
Yes.
5 years is a long time for us to still be at this point right now in the rebuild.
Yes.
So to
Fair.
put it another way, we shouldn't be celebrating, hey, you didn't make a mistake 5 years ago.
No, that shouldn't be good enough. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see.
Spoken like a true Pats fan. You know that? You do your job. Stupid Pats slogan. Hate that slogan.
Tell me how you really feel there, man.
Like to kick him right in his craft dinner. Never mind.
Oh my god.
This podcast's going sideways.
Yeah,
Anyway,
all right. Tense up in here.
Okay, I agree. Does anyone else have anything to say about Adam and his?
No, I agree with Adam.
He really brought the half empty into this segment.
It's frustrating. The relief we're feeling at Gudbranson going is only because of the treatment that he's gotten and the contract he got, and we're just relieved to let that go. So, yeah, we're in a slightly better place maybe, but as Adam said, realistically, in the grand scheme of things, we're not that much closer to playoff contention.
I feel like you're Adam. I'm touching Adam here.
Sounded better. They do this a lot.
I feel like the problem Adam has in general is that we're giving Jim a pat on the back today, when really it's this isn't something you should be happy about. We still got a long way to go, and we shouldn't be at this point.
It's like last year too. The Leipzig deal at the time, we viewed that as a win, but
where are we now with that, right?
Yeah, you know?
That's like, it's
fair.
just like, that should be like your minor wins. That should be like...
Like we need more
yeah,
landslide wins.
Yeah, exactly. You need way
I'm
bigger
reading what
deals.
I read what Adam's selling. I hear you. I feel you.
Thanks, man. You can
Whatever.
feel me whenever you want.
Yeah. I was gonna
Okay.
say literally most time.
Anything else on the trade deadline in general?
Yeah, it happened.
Okay.
Players moved.
Christopher. Hi.
Sup?
How are you?
You know, not too bad. We didn't flip any tables or chairs this episode.
No, but
was
Adam's
close,
clearly
yeah.
about ready to throw the microphone out this window.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're continuing to bring emotion to each and every episode. Just sometimes watching the Canucks play, I can't suggest that that's the case.
Oh, my
Okay.
God, that Islanders game. We don't talk about emotional.
I didn't even
Oh, yeah.
watch it, and I didn't need to watch it. I had a friend who the night before was like, hey, do you want to go to the Islanders game? And I'm like, division leaders. We don't have Edler. We don't have Tanev. We don't have Berchi. I'm good.
I went to that Flames game a couple weeks ago, and that was an incredibly fun hockey game.
Yeah, you kept
Yeah.
bringing it up.
What was the
Yeah.
score?
4-3 in a shootout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
But it was back and forth.
That was the
It
one where
started
Markstrom
playing.
stole the show.
Yeah, but since then,
Remember
it
when
has
Markstrom
been
was good? That was good
bad.
for a fun couple months there.
So I was at the
Well,
Islanders
he's not,
game
he
on...
hasn't been bad lately, hasn't
He hasn't
Yeah.
been great, though, either.
But I was at the Islanders game, and honestly, my overwhelming emotion watching that was drunk.
Well,
Luckily.
he?
All I
and
know
just
is
since that game, it's been so friggin' boring watching this
yeah,
team.
seeing the conversation after that game in the Larshiders group, where the biggest talking point is slowing down the "Go Canucks Go" chant, which quite frankly, when I've heard it, I think it is the right cadence. So I don't know why
Yeah,
it needs to slow down.
so it drives me crazy. The arena played the drum beat way too slowly for Go
Oh,
Canucks Go.
really?
Oh,
So
that-
what is it
Yeah,
like?
Like
Yeah,
Oh, that sounds awful.
it's really annoying.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, very quickly, a couple weeks ago, I said that the Canucks' chances were finally at 50% for the playoffs.
No,
Nope.
Nope, that's gone now.
that ship sailed.
So therefore, can we get back on Tank Watch?
Yeah, we're back.
Is it
on
time to talk about
Lose
Tank
for
Watch again?
use. Sure
what,
is,
what,
man.
What is the percentage
What is that?
for Tank
Wait,
Watch?
wait. Is it 2 wins in their past 11 games? Is that right?
It's not great.
That's Tank Watch, baby.
Last 10 games, 2-6-2. Anyway,
Yeah, let's do it.
they lost 3 in a row. Realistically, I can't see the Canucks finishing lower than 28th. Right now, it's Vancouver in 25th. Edmonton is 2 points back, but a game in hand. They're in action right now. New Jersey's also 2 points back. Anaheim's 3 points back with the same amount of games played. And then there's Detroit at 29th with 5 points back. I can't see the Canucks finishing lower than LA for sure,
Yeah.
or the Senators. And then probably
Senators
Detroit.
are maybe not winning a game the rest of the year.
Senators are pretty bad.
By
By the way, speaking of the Senators, has it occurred to anyone that the Senators are about to give the Avs a real shot at winning Jack Hughes?
Oh yeah, at least they got maybe 2 picks. To make
And
up
and
for
the
it,
Avs have
but-
turned it around a little bit, but the Avs were also looking like a bottom 5 team too.
Yeah.
Like,
Avs
it
are back
occurred
in
in
the
my
playoffs.
head that the Avs could somehow, in some world,
Get the top
add
2
Jack
picks.
Hughes and Capo Caco to a team that already has Nathan McKinnon and Mikko freaking Rantanen.
Yeah, and then you have Landeskog becomes expendable almost, right? That's
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like looking, yeah,
nice save.
looking at that roster like a couple years
But
ago,
hey.
you,
If there's a team that doesn't deserve Jack Hughes, it's the Avalanche.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, I just want to be a lottery pick because it's like we talked about a lot. Pretty deep draft.
Just get a top 6 pick.
That would be nice.
Christopher,
Matthew.
as we wrap things up on the C4 podcast, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
Well, you found us. You're listening to us. Thank you so much for tuning in. But if you have friends that need to find this podcast, the easiest way to go about it is just to have them search for the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast on iTunes and the Google Play Store, Spotify, Player FM, and we're everywhere. But C4podcast.com is the easiest way to get them to CanucksHockeyBlog.com. All of our episodes are listed there. As for us being on Twitter, at the C4 Podcast is on Twitter. I'm the guy that monitors the account, so I can find out that Anna is not representing C4 at a Canucks game, but good thing her friend and friend of the show it is.
Yeah. What can I say? Annalise is a better person than me.
Yeah, she is. As I told you on Twitter, I like her more because she was repping the C4 podcast. I like people who should wear our threads out.
Fair enough.
Yeah. If you're looking for us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/C4 podcast. It's there. People sometimes like things. It's cool. But if you're looking for us individually on Twitter, Matt is at MattLee_61. Adam is at AdamFOC. Anna is at A4Side03. I am at Lightforce with a Y. Oh, and one other thing. Remember, if you give us a review, we read it verbatim. We haven't had reviews in a while.
Those are fun.
Read that one out from the other day.
Which one? The one that I keep sharing. The one.
Trevor backwards.
Oh man, I need to pin that. I don't have it handy, but that one. Trevor, if you're listening to this podcast, I hope we're better. Like if we're not, drop another review and let us know that we're still crap, because that's cool. I mean, reviews are reviews. We'll take them, right?
We need the feedback.
That's constructive criticism.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, so I just want to, when a friend of the show, Trev Goldie, reached out to say, hey, man, that wasn't me. Like, I didn't think it was Trev Goldie, but the fact that Trevor nicknamed backwards, had Trev Goldie a little worried that we might think it was him. He felt the need to reach out. So thanks, Trev. I know it wasn't you.
Yeah, you're still good.
Yeah. But, Adam, final words of wisdom that you wish to share to the listeners, the thousands and thousands that have tuned in live.
I think I've said my piece.
And then some.
And then some. Let's lose for Hughes.
Lose for Hughes. Anna?
See you, goodie. That's it. Like,
I would like to point out,
beautiful face gone.
Anna said that. Sorry, I stepped on your toes there.
No, I'm good.
I was going to say, Anna pointed out very proactively that the name of this week's episode should be Good Riddance.
G-U-D?
Yeah, I like that.
Whew.
That's
Anna's been
high quality work.
Anna has been a co-host for quite a while. That might be the most valuable contribution she has made on this show.
Wow, thanks,
it's
Matt.
like Gudbranson's most valuable contribution was bringing in Pearson. So.
Yeah. I just want to point out to Anna's mom who listens that I think actually more highly of her than Matt does. And while I take shots at Anna for not wearing the C4 threads, she brings a lot to the
Ma,
podcast.
aren't you proud?
Yeah. Does your mom have a shirt? Did you buy your mom a C4 shirt?
She doesn't right now.
Does your mom listen?
She does.
Wow.
She downloads and listens. What does your mom do?
None of those.
And my mom doesn't.
Actually, I do have to throw my mom slightly under the bus here that I just taught her how to download episodes.
That's okay. The fact that she's doing that is like...
Does she have Spotify?
She does not have Spotify, but she
Tell her to get in 2019.
listens every week, so...
Yeah, you know what I want to see? I want to see Anna's mom rocking a C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast shirt. Like this, make this happen. Like,
she had the opportunity to bring her back when she was going back to the motherland.
That's true.
Okay, well, she's coming out in April,
Did you...
so...
Let's get her a shirt.
Bring her on the show.
Did you also send the royal couple a C4 shirt as maybe a baby gift or something? Like wedding, baby shower?
Do we have baby shirts?
I'm sure I could make
the kid will grow into it.
Does Baby Force have a C4 shirt?
No. Does Wife Force have a C4 shirt? No, I do. But actually, talking about merch, and just to sort of quickly wrap it up, I had asked earlier about should we have hats. There seemed to be a few people that said yes, so I think I might add hats to our merch store.
Yeah, I would wear.
Yeah.
I think C4 hats would be cool.
Definitely.
I also think we need to diversify the merch a bit, like not just having the C4 logo, but there's got to be something that we say that we could throw like words on the shirt.
Right? Throw that on Discord. If you will.
Yeah, if you guys got any like Mattisms or Annaisms or anything like that, let us know because you would know better than us.
Yeah, because we don't.
You know what we should have?
Saying it.
I was going to say
for Francis.
We should have the F stand for Francis should be on a shirt. We could have one for Anna. Anna's favorite quote of all time on this podcast. Every time I cut her off is, "No, I was just gonna say." Do you ever notice that?
No, I was.
That should be a drinking game.
That's Anna's?
Every time I say something and like Anna was about to speak and then I let her speak, I notice that she says, "No, I was just gonna say," to lead every single phrase.
I don't think I like that.
I like a drink. We should do a drinking game version of this one time. That'd be fun.
You should say from now on.
Let's
every time Anna says, Discord. "No, I was just gonna say," or I interrupt somebody,
says, if you will,
or if I interrupt somebody, that is a drink. We're all gonna get hammered.
So we've gone from words on shirts to C4 drinking game, and I just
why not both?
I just want. Well,
Nexus also points out you say "like" a lot.
I do. Yeah. I know it's bad.
It's a
and
Britishism.
my mum would be very disappointed in me.
No, it's not a Britishism.
It's not.
Dad would make you do
it's
push-ups.
an Americanism.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap things up. I'm sweating.
Well, I know. Before we do, one final thing. I just want to point out to the listeners to put added pressure onto Anna as our social convener. When's the C4 meetup happening?
Oh, yeah, soon.
Soon. Okay, stay in tune. If you're not already in Discord, bit.ly/C4 Discord, C4 Discord, all caps. That's where all the news will be shared. So join right now. But on behalf of Matt Lee at @MattLee_61, Adam Ovenel Carter at AdamFOC, Anna Forsyth at A403, and myself, Chris Golden at Lightforce, we're signing off from the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast, as we always do, with 2 words. We're out.
Thanks for listening to the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com.